Good morning, everybody. Welcome once again to BTL Bass Talk Live, where we're going to talk bass fishing and anything else that we want to talk about. Matthew, got to tell you right off the bat, man, probably the most difficult 2 days, the last 2 days I've ever spent traveling in my life.
Well, that's what happens when you fly standby.
On a holiday weekend, after graduation, with summer coming up, dude. But things happen. Things like what happened to me would never happen to you.
Let me just say, just to set it up, you had a meeting or two. Your son's a pilot.
Right.
And so you get to fly standby.
That is correct.
Which means you're not guaranteed a seat.
That is correct.
Did you not think this out about all of the list of things that cause the airports to be crowded specific week out of the year?
Listen to me, okay? There is an app that the carrier's employees get to use to where you can actually get a pretty good indication on what the capacity of the planes are and all this other info and everything. Everything looked good. Everything looked okay. The problem was when I was trying to I went to Memphis, and when I was trying to get to Memphis, I got to Chicago fine.
Mm-hmm.
When I got to Chicago, no, O'Hare. All right. So when I got to Chicago, they had everything up on the board on time. Everything looked good. I was going to get a seat. Delayed. The thing was delayed 6 hours. And dude, I've never seen people get upset in an airport.
Everyone's trying to go on vacation.
It was, and I just sat back and I was like, yeah, this isn't good.
So you were what, 4 a.m. to midnight in airports yesterday?
Yesterday, yeah.
But you made it home.
I went from Memphis to Charlotte to Birmingham to Dallas to Oklahoma City.
I was trying to figure out if we were going to have a show today, and apparently during all those times, I never was able to make contact.
I was either in the jetway or on the plane or in line or something. Anyway, I had the first flight out of Memphis yesterday.
And the last flight out of
DFW.
Why did you just drive? It's like a 6-hour drive to Memphis.
Like I said.
It's 6 hours.
Looks like it's a little longer than 6 hours.
Let me guess what you're most pissed off about is because you were delayed, you were not able to go to the Nike factory outlet in Memphis.
You know me quite well. I was pissed because I had everything planned out to where my meeting was set for, I think, 1 o'clock. The way things were going to work out, I was going to pick up the rental car, boom, get to the clearance outlet. Big difference. Mm-hmm. One of the best ones in the country in Memphis.
Right next to Graceland.
That is correct. And I was unable to go. So
hopefully today's planning will go better than your
it had nothing to do
flight.
With planning.
Well, hopefully the timing today will go better. Cool start. First segment, we're gonna have Matt Ellis from the Outdoor Scoreboard right there at Kentucky Lake. I guess they had a big carp symposium
in Paris, Tennessee.
Yeah. So we're gonna get him on the line, talk a little bit about what went down on that, and then we will talk to. Is he like he's got to be one of the hottest young anglers in professional bass fishing now.
West Coast guy, the West Coast influence.
That's what I said. I ran a story on it on Bass Zone right now. There's 13 guys with roots from the West Coast that are in the top 35 in the Angler of the Year standings. Leading that way is Josh Bertrand from Arizona. He's currently in third. We are going to have him on live via Skype in the second half of the show. He's one of the few guys who's gone 4 for 4. He's actually, I wrote some stats down, he's actually gone 8 of his last 10 in the Elite Series has checks, and 5 of those are top 20s.
Very nice.
So very quietly doing that. And he fished the Open last year on the Sabine and had a top 10 there.
Very nice.
So
good stuff. Can't wait to hear what he has to say. All right, real quick, I need to give everybody an update. On Wednesday, we made the announcement of one-on-one live challenge.
Right.
I've received some challenges already. I have just not been able, due to the last 2 days of traveling, I have not been able to make contact with certain people, get everything verified. Mm-hmm. Typically, there will be at least, at a minimum, a 24-hour turnaround on that. In fact, one of the anglers that issued a challenge actually texted me and was concerned that his challenge was not received.
Talking about the announcement you made with James Watson live in studio a couple days ago about anybody, anywhere can issue a challenge for $500 to $10,000. Hey, come get after me on Grand Lake for $1,000 anyway. So there's a process. There's a process. You have to send it in, then Mark has to put it all up there.
And then the other thing is if you want to issue a challenge to any touring professional, be it minor or major, either one, go ahead and send a challenge in. Then we facilitate whether or not that professional has, number one, the time, number two, the money, number three, is willing to accept your challenge on whatever body of water that you are issuing this challenge. And I don't think this has ever been done.
No, it's very cool.
Do what?
I said we were both having some major issues with cords under the wheels.
Oh, I know.
This morning, the microphone cords are.
All right, a couple things real quick, and then we will not take a break. You will discuss something, and I will try and get Matt on the phone, and we'll find out what went down in Paris, Tennessee. All right, what do you have for me? Wait, one last thing real quick. During my time yesterday in the airport, where's my notes at?
All 18 hours.
I did have an opportunity to spend about an hour and a half talking to a very interesting individual. His name was Joe Pierre III.
That you met?
That I met.
You actually talked to someone,
dude,
a random person in the airport?
He came up to me.
You are the most unapproachable person I have ever seen while traveling. You're hulking, you're angry, you glare, you stare at your phone.
Yeah. I was wearing this hat, and he walked up to me. This was in Charlotte.
Southwestern Oklahoma State University Bulldogs. That's where AJ goes.
Yes.
By the way, I've seen him while you were gone. He came in, he fed the cat. I've seen him 3 times. Guess how many times he's had a shirt on? Zero.
Probably zero. Yeah, he's been working out every single day, dude. In fact, that's where he is right now.
He's got the gold shade too. He's got the Terry Scroggins gold.
Though, isn't he?
He's got the Terry Scroggins gold shade.
His grandmother gave him that.
Okay, well, I'm just saying the workout shorts.
Is he not ripped though?
He's muscular.
He's
I still remember him as a kid playing with the stick on the ant mounds when he was 6 years old.
Anyway, Joe Pierre III. He is the assistant coach for Division I Liberty University in, I believe it's West Virginia.
I've been there several times.
Yeah.
We used to play them in hockey, and they're a Christian university, and it's the only school we would end up in a line brawl with every single time we played.
That's funny. That's funny. His dad used to be on staff at Oklahoma State.
Okay.
And I talked to him for like an hour and a half. He gave me a lot of insight on a lot of the stuff that's going on from the recruiting standpoint.
Their athletic department's on point.
Oh, they're big time. Mm-hmm. He was showing me some of the video stuff that they do and everything. Anyway, I wanted to shout out to him. He was intrigued with what my occupation is. Very intrigued.
Yeah. No, that's a long trip out there. I've been there. I think we've been there twice. We actually had a kid go into the stands the last time I played there. There were suspensions
at
and
a Christian university.
Oh, that's the only time they get to like yell or release any stress whatsoever. Awesome. They're wound tight, but they do not like the Sooners hockey team.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then the other thing I do want to shout out to Mark at Striking. Mm-hmm. He very, very hospitable. We had a great conversation when I was in Memphis. So hopefully a lot of good things to come about because of that. So the other thing, a couple of things went down. You've got a couple of things that you want to discuss real quick, and then we'll get to Matt.
Yeah, real quick. This actually is going to put a smile on your face because we often have the luck versus skill conversation about how much in fishing is luck, and there's an interesting blog post. What?
I forgot to show these, dude. I was
what
going
is
to show
all
these.
That? Oh, these are all your ticket stubs.
Okay, let's see here.
That's unlucky. You weren't kidding. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
8 of them.
Good Lord. These are all of your standby boarding passes?
Yeah. Is that not crazy?
It just says seat. See, that's your problem.
Yeah. Anyway.
Dude, for what? Another $150 you could have gotten home.
No, it was much more expensive.
But we have the talk about the luck versus skill, and this kind of struck me. I do like to read the blogs on Bassmaster. There's some interesting stuff in there. And Jason Christie came out with one who, after his 97th place on Grandin Fall in the Classic, everyone thought was headed back to the BFLs and would never catch another fish in his life.
I did not think
has backed it up with a 2 top 10s, a 4th place on Kentucky and a 10th place on Travis. But I thought this was interesting. This is what he wrote about Lake Travis. And one of I've got it highlighted. He says, these fish were in little wolf packs that were mixed in size. I've never seen luck become such a factor in a tournament because there just never seemed to be any rhyme or reason for why you'd catch big ones or small ones. And he goes on to explain how it was just straight up luck.
How about that?
On whether or not he caught the big one. So obviously you had to be in an area where there were big ones and where there were fish. Cliff Pace obviously figured that out. He had an 8 and a 10 and a 5, but I just thought you would get a kick out of that. Jason Christie talking about how luck was his key factor.
Do you agree with
to
that
a top
statement?
10 finish. Absolutely. After having been there and covered that tournament and seen how it laid out, there was a lot of luck. You had guys throwing a drop shot down there, catching big ones, catching 40 small ones. You had guys who caught big ones in practice, who didn't catch any in the tournament. So that's that. And then there was another, I would call this what would you call this?
A statement?
Yeah. A well-written statement.
Yeah.
Set this up by Randy Haynes, who kind of came out on.
I glanced through it.
I saw this. He came out with it, obviously talking about what went down, where he retired early in the morning on day 3 of the FLW Tour event, leading on Kentucky Lake. And what kind of struck me here, it's probably 1,000 words, single space, a page and a half. Came out there on Facebook. A lot of feedback on that. Was there were a couple things that caught me in it. Obviously, one of the things he said, I'm writing to apologize for leaving the water on day 3. After reflection, I do wish I had stayed in the game elsewhere. I thought it was interesting. He called it a game. That's what you like to call it.
Yeah.
That he kind of understands it. Goes through kind of all the old school stuff that we talked about, the respect on the water, the day 3, who he learned from. But other thing that got me was, he kind of says in here that he didn't think it would be that big of a deal or that much of an issue, that there were that many eyes on him. He just said, I'm a simple guy who fishes. I thought it would, kind of be passed over.
He's an iconic figure
I think
on Kentucky,
he decided to come out with this. Now, I don't know, but it seems based on what he said was there was a lot of feedback that he got on it, and he didn't know. I mean, you're out in the water. We cover these guys. You see it. I mean, we've been out there in the Bassmaster Classic, and these iconic moments and things that are talked about for years to come. I mean, there's a handful of boats and a dude in a boat by himself out there.
Yeah.
You don't realize, and now you do with the live, I guess, that there's thousands of people watching this and discussing it and talking about it. And I think
that's why this was
right. I think that
story.
kind of put it into perspective for Randy Haynes as to how many he talks about kids and setting a good role model. But he also talked about what you said. You kind of had a conversation with him about, which was he knew what his point was, his reaching point, and he reached that point. So it sounds like he wishes he had a chance, a kind of a do-over to do it differently, but he doesn't regret his decision.
It's a good way of putting it. I think the last paragraph is really what stuck out to me. He said, and I quote, I want to take this time to clearly apologize to those affected by this, especially to those and the woman and her son.
He talks about how a woman sent a mail in about how her son was.
And to the younger anglers. I want to do better than we are.
I want you to do better than we are, talking to the younger generation.
Right. Foregoing manners and foregoing the foundation of our sport, but to also better than I did when I pulled out of the event. Don't compromise your integrity, your belief system, or your composure, but don't you quit either.
It was very well written. Well done.
Yeah. Last night, Jason was on Ike Live.
They didn't ask him the good questions, though.
I
mean, they asked him good questions, but I wanted to see
softballs.
Some hard-hitting questions.
Softballs. They never brought up, unless I missed it, and I was watching it in the airport, so I might have
missed pieces of it.
I went back and I kind of glanced at the replay real quick, but the question was not asked, of which Randy actually talks about in his statement on the unwritten rule. Mm-hmm. And I think that's huge. And for a lot of old school people and some of the new people that are in this game, a lot of times you don't understand what that unwritten rule means. And that was really never addressed. I mean, they were talking about, his win and the baits and
rightfully
all this
so.
other
The guy
stuff.
caught 102 pounds on Kentucky Lake.
And we mentioned, I mean, that's quite the feat. But at the same time, the unwritten rule really was not brought up in the conversation. So it is what it is. And I think, like everything else, this shall pass.
Absolutely. To stay on pace here, you need to work on getting Matt Ellis on, and I'm going to go back to at the beginning of the year when both me and you picked our winners. I believe we both picked Lambert for Kentucky Lake, did we not, Mark?
I think so.
I think we might have. That was our first hit of the year. But in the Angler of the Year standings, I'm actually sitting pretty good. I think you picked Andy Morgan for FLW. Well, he's won it 3 times, and I picked Scott Martin, who is trying to become, I believe, a 3-time Angler of the Year. And Martin has moved up to second. He's like 50, 60 points behind Mark Rose heading into the last event. So there's a chance there that I could have called that Angler of the Year. And then on the Elite Series, I think you picked Van Dam.
Yeah.
He's in the hunt. I picked Martin. He's in 8th heading into it. So
Matt, you there?
I'm here.
Hey, man, thanks for taking time out. You are live, so we appreciate you taking time out to come on and talk a little bit about what went down at the meeting in Paris, Tennessee. I believe it was Wednesday, right?
It was last night, actually.
yeah,
Oh, okay.
I thought it was.
Okay. So what can you tell everybody about what went down at this meeting?
Well, there were probably, I would say, I estimated about 350 people there. Pretty crowded. There were several of the local and regional Tennessee politicians and representatives, or their representatives, there. It was sort of a 3-part symposium, as you put it. The first 45 minutes to an hour was Frank Fisk, the chief fisheries biologist for Tennessee, laid out kind of the time frame for TWRA and their research and awareness of Asian carp and how far back they've been involved, at least on a informed level, with national groups of what the Asian carp are doing, where they're moving. And then he kind of progressed his slides to show where we're at today with efforts in getting funding to help support, have Asian Carp Task Force, where they go out and react to people who call, get information, try to catch the carp where they're at, capture some, study them. They're actually doing some biosonic tagging to track fish, which was interesting. And then the second half was Ron Brooks, who I think you guys have probably talked to Ron before. A lot of us know who Ron is. He's the chief fisheries biologist for Kentucky. And he kind of laid out his plans and what Kentucky is doing in conjunction with Tennessee. And they kind of laid out, some incentives that they have going for commercial fishing. And then the third part was the message of one of the biologists from Tennessee laying out exactly what's been going on in the last 10, 15 years with the bass populations and the crappie populations and how they tie in with what's going on with the Asian carp population.
A lot of people angry there, or sad, or concerned, or upset, or what was the vibe you got from kind of just the whole feel of it?
I think depending on what corner of the room you're standing in, Matt, I think you've met every one of those people you just described. I mean, there were some very positive, open-minded people. I think, generally speaking, everybody who was there was open-minded and concerned, or else they wouldn't be there. But you did hear some people mumble. If a politician spoke up, well, they do not like that politician, so they're already biased. But then you got some people who they've been fishing on the lake since the 1960s, grew up there. They know this is the worst it's ever been, so they're very skeptical of the government agency all of a sudden acting like they're in their words, acting like they're concerned. They're not. They're kind of skeptical that they are really concerned because they haven't done anything yet. But I think overall the meeting was positive. There was a lot of good points brought up in the Q&A session, and a lot of people were very passionate, as they should be, with our lake. This is our livelihood.
Matt, do you think this meeting would have happened had it not been for the spotlight that was put on Kentucky Lake and the Asian Carp with the Bassmaster Elite Series and the FLW Tour visiting, or is this a direct result of kind of the outcry that it was now put on the national spotlight?
This is more of the latter, Matt. I believe this was already planned before the elites showed up here. I think there's been other discussions related to carp going on in the region. I know in Kentucky they've had some. Tennessee might have even had one a few weeks back or a few months back. It's just been in the last year, though, in the last probably 12 to 18 months, where it's come to a head. Even though there's been some preliminary works the last 2 or 3 years, I think it's the last year or so is where the national or regional awareness, as you say, in the media has really grown to a level where everybody has heard about it.
Matt, what's your vibe on what happens next after that meeting?
Well, a lot of the things I took away from it was they do have plans. They have a lot of efforts going on. A lot of the plans revolve around the most efficient way or direct way to remove the carp from the lake, and that's commercial fishing. So one interesting fact I did like to hear was they've reserved or acquired funding for a forgivable loan. I think it was $1 million to contract out for a bid for a commercial fishing outfit to come in and commercial fish these fish. They have certain level that they have to meet annually, pound-wise. And if they reach 80% of that, they do not have to pay 1 penny on interest on the loan. They don't have to pay the loan back. And I think it's a renewable for about 4 or 5 years with at that level of money, that if they meet 80% or more, they don't have to pay it back. So there's massive incentive to come out here and do a good job, not just come down here and, just catch them good 1 week and then lay back and count your money. So I think my impression is the commercial fishing efforts, and there's an effort to put a fish house somewhere else on the lake, because these fish, you can't just haul them around like you would catfish. You have to put these things on ice pretty quick. And so as a result of that, they need a fish house closer probably to the Paris area where I'm at now. And along with the message of, even though they're on top of things trying to do more research, we have to be involved ourselves, and they encourage us to constantly keep pressure on our local, state, and most importantly, federal politicians, because this was all brought about by the USDA back in the 70s when they brought these in for aquaculture, and now the problem's got out of hand. So the United States government has just as much responsibility as our local wildlife agencies to help fix this problem.
Off the top of your head, is there anywhere where there's a replay of this meeting that if people want to go re-watch it in their spare time, they can take a gander?
The best place would be TWRA's Facebook page. They had a live stream there. It should be archived and able to play there. Also, my dad is involved with that. I think it's the Tennessee Fish Anglers Against Asian Carp group that's on Facebook. I can give you the exact name, but he videoed a lot of that. He'll probably upload all that onto his channel or the YouTube channel.
All right, get that to Matt, and then we'll make sure that we link that up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we'll do.
We'll do that.
What's coming up with you and Dave in the Outdoor Scoreboard?
Well, here in a couple of weeks, we're actually going to be on the lake with one of the best younger guides on the lake, Brent Anderson, who pretty much owns the BFLs down here and owns a lot of the Kentucky Lake local trails. We're going to be on the lake with him, doing probably some live video, doing a little TOS East versus West. Dave's up in Lexington and I'm down near Memphis, so it's a little East-West, Kentucky versus Tennessee, where we have an SEC kind of slant to our show. So we'll be doing a little on-site, one-on-one ourselves, so to speak. There,
very
Mark?
nice, very nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
You'll have to let us know how that works out.
Yeah, we will. We always have fun. We try to take ourselves too seriously, and we're out there to catch fish. We're trying to catch them while they're coming out to schools. As you saw, Jason Lambert put the ultimate test out there to the Kentucky Lake carp critics and show that there are still some good bass out there.
That he did, over 100.
You can also go online and watch Scott Martin's practice video where he spends a good portion of it with a treble hook and a worm hook snagging the schools of Asian carp and just letting them tow the boat around.
I saw that, and actually, if you guys, I actually ate some fried Asian carp. They fried them up just like you would crappie or bass last night, and I tell you what, if it's not quite to the level of walleye or crappie, but if I was at a fish fry, I would go back for seconds. I was really impressed with the taste of it.
Wow.
So anybody can go out and catch them. I mean, do like Scott Martin did. Take a hook, just make a cast, and start jerking.
Wow.
Easiest kind of fishing there is.
That's crazy.
Jeffries would love them if they ate a topwater.
Yeah, that's not happening, though.
No, not yet.
Not yet. Maybe on down the road. All right, Matt. Please keep us posted on any other developments. I know you're pretty well connected with what's going down as far as that situation on Kentucky Lake. Somebody made the response on the instant feedback that once those two events were over and the whole Asian Carp thing was going on, that there hasn't been a lot of post discussion about it. So I want to make sure that it doesn't get lost with everything else that's taking place, because as Kevin Van Dam said, this is probably the most critical thing to take place in this game.
The scariest thing he's seen.
Yeah, that he's ever seen. So please help us. Keep us informed on anything that we can pass along to anybody through our show, man.
I will do, sir. I'll keep you posted on anything that goes on. You're right. It's like a news cycle. We're so used to the cycle being over within about 48 hours and moving on to the next topic, but you can't ignore this. You got to keep your eyes on it.
Agree with it.
We'll keep in touch.
All right, man. Take care, Matt. It was good seeing you.
All right. Thanks, Mark. Likewise. See you, Matt.
All right, man.
See ya.
There you have it, Matt Ellis, the Outdoor Scoreboard.
Runs a pretty cool fantasy fishing league. That's the one.
He's in our Benjamin Franklin League, isn't he?
Yeah, we haven't really talked about that one. A little high stakes 10 angler high stakes fantasy fishing, but he does one where you draft 7 anglers, and then you play your best 5, and it's kind of like fantasy football.
Hey, Jeff in Tennessee saying Menendez has caught him on a pop-R before.
Yeah, I think I remember him.
He did. He's
saying something.
Yeah.
But, I mean, not with regularity. I mean, they're not voracious. I mean, it's not like you're going to chuck a vixen out there.
No, I'm with you. Hey, are you going out on amateur weekend this weekend?
Oh, if I do, it will be to Dripping Springs. And not Dripping Springs in Grand Lake. Dripping Springs where you can only idle because of all the standing timber.
I like this one. Chad in Canada says, McDonald's needs to come out with the McCarp.
The McCarp.
The McCarp, 99 cents. I like that idea.
That's not bad.
All right, we're going to take a break, come back with Josh Bertrand, find out why the West Coast guys are dominating this year.
Did you not read the story? I told you why.
Yeah, when was I going to do that?
I don't know. You had a lot of time in the plane. Talked to Littner.
I had no
Roy
internet
Hawk
on the planes.
I talked to Brett Height.
I promise you I will check it out. All right, we're coming back with Josh. Everybody, stay tuned.
We can put an absolute smackdown on the bass in a 3-hour period.
There is going to be pressure.
Playing by their rules.
I'm fishing against Mike McClellan, who has won way more than I have.
I'm absolutely going to smoke him.
This one-on-one live on May 30th at 10 o'clock in the morning, it will all be about execution.
Yeah, you want to beat your buddy.
I just want to catch that extra 5-pounder or 2 so I can say I'm the one-on-one champ on May 30th.
Crete's got a lot of bad. I mean, that's just all there is to it. I mean, he's sloppy, his truck's a mess.
See, look, he's already got a call. This guy's so famous, that's somebody else calling him for an interview. Got it.
The most versatile fishing machine on Earth. Unparalleled resolution and clarity, with more agility, lightning speed, and brute strength. HDS Carbon takes rapid response performance and screen technology to an all-new level. Maximized power, maximized visibility. See Structure Scan 3D, new dual chirp sonar, new live network sonar, and more mapping options, all at the same time and faster than ever before. Pros depend on hydraulic jack plates to get the best out of their boats. Do what they do. Demand Atlas performance. Atlas gets you from the bottom to the top in less than 8 seconds, even with the big 4 strokes. And when you gotta turn right around and get that heavy load back up in rough water, Atlas's innovative design and American-made components will get you there with confidence.
I'm at Depot. Just look for yourself. There's an Atlas jack plate on just about every professional's boat.
The Atlas hydraulic jack plate. You can depend on it.
My rods look different because they are different. Every rod is built by the pros and for the pros. When you pick up a white Duffet fishing rod, you're getting a cutting-edge rod, one that's truly pro-driven with the actions you need for every bait category you fish. I put my name on it. It's my promise to build you a great rod you can count on.
Ducket Fishing, Micro Magic, Macro Magic, or White Ice.
Try them. They work.
When you are on the water, you need performance you can count on. Lowrance has been proving it for more than 60 years. Just ask our pros. HDS Carbon is the choice of champions. The clearest, most visible screens and killer new features like fish reveal and dynamic high visibility contrast ensure you catch more. Now is the ultimate time to get the best deal. Save up to $500 when you buy a qualifying HDS Carbon in the Ultimate Upgrade Sales event before May 31st.
Hey guys, Russ Lane, Bassmaster Elite Series Pro. Man, I am so excited to be joining the AFCO Pro staff. They got some really cool, innovative products to help you have a more enjoyable, comfortable day while you're out there on the water. Really stylish, great functional clothing. You're gonna love it. The thing I'm most excited about though is AFCO has pledged to donate 10% of their total profits back to supporting the conservation of our fisheries, and I am all about supporting a company that's about supporting conservation so that we can enjoy our bass fishing for a long time. Check us out, AFCO.
Jacob Wheeler and Tommy Biffle have a lot in common.
Flat bill. The perfect shape.
You gotta love some light tackle.
I know I have a spinning rod.
I love my hammer crawl.
Biffle bug.
Rig.
On a hardhead.
Well, they could be twins. Bifflebug, Hammer Crawl, Hardhead, from Gene LaRue.
Let me help you, man.
Let me help that hat.
Whoa, whoa.
There you go. I already looked better.
When I talk about Sunline, I think of one word, confidence.
Sunline FX2 is what I use for all of my frogging and flipping.
S61 braid, which braid plays a big part in fishing line.
Shooter, I'm going to use in those close quarter deals like flipping and pitching.
One of my favorite techniques in fishing the tournament trail is to fish offshore ledges.
We have taken the questions out of the equation.
Take my word for it. It works. It works, dude.
All right, we are back on a Friday. 3 shows this week, man. We did 3. Remember, we did the Watson show, too.
Oh, you did 3.
You made an appearance.
Guest appearance when James Watson couldn't figure out how to get on the internet.
Stumbling through it. Yeah, James, one of a kind there, one of a kind. All right, you ready? I think we have our next guest, and he's having quite the season, Matthew.
He is 3rd in the Tour de Angler of the Year points, coming up to a very interesting stretch the next month with the rescheduled Sabine River and then the Mississippi River and then South Dakota, I believe. That's a lot of interesting tournaments going on, too. I would say the Sabine's kind of an unknown based on this time of year and where they can fish. And then it's South Dakota, obviously, is completely unknown. And you kind of know what you're going to get on the Mississippi River. But all
right, let's bring him in. Josh, you there, man?
What's going on, guys? How are you?
Doing well. It's a little early on the west side, isn't it?
It is. You guys, I had to get up early to talk to you guys. Early for an off day for me. I get up at 4 o'clock all year long to fish, so 7 o'clock's early on an off day for
Your
sure.
your little girl doesn't wake you up at 5 in the morning every morning?
No, you know what, dude? She gets up 7 o'clock, like clockwork every day. Goes to bed at 7, wakes up at 7. We're pretty lucky for that.
I will say this before we get into the interview: that calendar behind you, and for people who are listening on iTunes, you won't be able to see it. But if you're watching, if you get a calendar like that 3x5 calendar, and put all your dates and stuff in it, it makes your life a lot easier, doesn't it?
You know what, man? It really does. And the key to that one is it's a 2017 calendar. So that goes to show how on top of everything I am. But you're totally right. I mean, you can see here I've got all my 2017 tournaments and stuff like that, and it's good for my wife. We both share on our iPhones we have the calendar that she can see when I'm going to be here or not. But it's nice to be able to sit in here in the office and say, oh no, I'm going to be gone, but I do need to update it. I'm like 6 months late on that now.
Hey, that's okay. We still have a calendar for the 2016 U.S. Open in my office.
You do?
Oh,
yeah.
Sweet.
Hey, I still have my calendar for 2013 up because it was the last year I caught him good, and I put my finishes next to it, and I was like proud of it. And I'm like, dude, I'm not taking this one down.
You talk about me living in the past. Come on, Matthew.
That was
Jeez.
within the past decade.
Uncle Rico over there.
Yeah. All right, man. West Coast guys kind of dominating this year. Josh, well, what's up with that?
Well, there are quite a few now that are fishing on tour, and a lot of them are pretty experienced. I'm definitely one of the younger Western guys that is fishing out there. But man, there's so many good fishermen from around the country, and a lot of these Western guys I've looked up to forever, and it's good inspiration for me to be able to see the guys that I grew up idolizing, from Arizona and California, go back and be so successful on tour, and it's motivating for me for sure.
We kind of talk a lot during the Elite Series season, almost on a daily basis, just on how things are going. And you look at it and you see your finishes. You're one of the few guys who's gone 4 for 4 in checks this year. You look at third place in the Angler of the Year. You've been on Bass Live. But, dude, it hasn't been easy for you this year. There's been numerous days where you've really had to grind it out at pretty much every stop.
Yeah, you're right, and I haven't had like a great practice for any of these tournaments, and unfortunately for me, every tournament I've had like one bad day in each tournament. So I've had a couple, really good days where things came easily, but it seemed like I'd back that up with a day where it was literally hard just to catch a limit. So I'm thankful that things I've been able to hold on enough to still make decent tournaments out of it. But yeah, I've literally had a couple days that went so perfectly and easily, and then the next day was such a challenge. I'll give you guys 2 examples of days that went really easily. I had at Grand, the first day at Grand, in practice, I had found some stretches where I felt like there were some fish spawning. I couldn't see them, but I had shaken off and caught quite a few fish on these specific stretches, and thought, okay, well, I can probably make one good day out of this, just going down these same stretches and catching whatever I can of these spawning fish if you get in the right rotation. And I literally had like several of the same bites that I had in practice in the tournament again, and they ended up being big ones. And same thing on Kentucky Lake. The first day I had a few stretches that I was flipping bushes, but I felt like the fish were maybe spawning in the bushes, and I'd go down and catch all the same fish that I got bit by in practice. Even I had one bush, I might have told you this at the tournament, but the biggest bass I caught in practice at Kentucky was in a bush, and it was an isolated bush. It was an isolated bush that was a little farther out than all the other bushes in the pocket, and I caught this. It had already laid its eggs, so it was kind of thin, but just a big old headed bruiser. And I actually set the hook on it in the first day of practice, just because I was trying to feel some things out and see what kind of quality was up in the bushes. I caught it, and I said, dang, I wish I wouldn't have caught this thing. It's like 5.5 pounder. And my second stop of the first morning of the tournament, I pull up and I'm telling my marshal, this is the bush that I caught that fish in, and it bit again, and I caught it. I mean, that never happened. Same thing on Travis. I had two places where I had giants in the first day of practice offshore. So these weren't the same fish, most likely, but I had two places where I thought, okay, maybe I can get one big one here. And my first stop of the tournament day, the first day, I caught an 8.3, where I caught a 7 in practice on a little isolated piece of rock. And I had another one. My second stop in practice, I had reeled in like a school of little ones, like 12, 13 inchers. I caught the 12, 13 incher, and a bunch came up. But one long, thin 5-pounder was following the school. And I said, okay, great. Well, I caught the right one at least. I didn't burn up that big one, but I saw there might be some big ones here. And I stopped there the first morning of the tournament. I swear I caught the same fish. It was the same build, just a long, thin 5-pounder. Never caught another big one there all week. So that's how easily things went some days. And then, the next day, I can't get a bite. So hopefully I'm able to put two or three or four solid days together here soon, because it'd end up a lot better.
All right, Josh, talk a little bit about Travis. Matt had an interesting post that Jason Christie had on his blog about how much luck played into that event. I'd like to know your thoughts on it.
It was crazy. I think out of all the tournaments we fished, especially what we'll see this season, the luck factor was huge, and you had to put yourself in the right position. I think your odds were much better on catching a big fish if you were doing the right thing, and if you were in an area that had big fish potential. But yeah, some of the big bites that I got in practice, and even in the tournament, and some of the stories you'd hear, it was crazy. And it was so hard to put together a limit of 2, 3, 4 pounders, but you'd have a good bag if you could have a limit of 1.5 and an 8 or a 9. And those second 2 days, I was literally expecting an 8 or 9 pounder to come and save my day. But yeah, the crazy thing is those big ones were eating these little itty bitty shad. So sometimes you could catch a real big giant one like that, and I mean, it would just be 1 out of 100 fish would just be a giant. It was crazy. I've never seen anything like it. So what I was trying to do anyways was trying to at least fish something that I thought a big fish would potentially set up on. Like I said, like an isolated piece of structure near deep water, just a place where a big one would want to call home. And it worked a little bit, and it didn't work a lot. So, I don't know, man. It would have been an easy one to bomb. You take away 2 of those big bites the first day, and I have a horrible tournament.
Yeah.
One of the things that I kind of feel is interesting is there's some guys who are loners, some guys who are like friends with everybody, other guys who work together in little groups, and you guys have a really interesting dynamic going with Cliff Perch and James Elam, and then Roy Hawk, throw him in the mix, and you look at the seasons you've had with Roy second and third, and Elam's been in the hunt and one of the hottest young anglers, and then you with third place in the Angler of the Year. Talk a little bit about kind of feeding off of each other. I even kind of throw Elam in that West Coast vibe too, just the way he fishes. And I know, but he fishes more West Coast than a typical Oklahoma guy would. Right. Would you not agree, Josh?
Yeah, I totally think
so. But just kind of talk a little bit about that dynamic and kind of feeding off of each other. It seems like every single tournament, at least one of that group or multiple of you guys are in the hunt.
Well, I mean, those 3 guys are so good, and they're all different. I'd say out of the 3, James and I fish pretty similar. We have similar approaches overall, maybe. Cliff is extremely methodical, and Roy is just balls to the wall, find the biggest fish and go for it. So there's definitely something to learn from all 3 of them, and I'm trying to learn as much as I can from all 3, and I am. So it's really helpful to have some buds like that you can lean on and help each other out. And it's crazy to see the different styles between all 3. And I've learned a ton from Perch, but he fishes so differently that it's hard to go out and do what he does because he's so good at doing what he does, and it's so different than the approach I have. But I do feel like I fish a lot like James, and Roy has just such an interesting mindset, and such a good mindset when it comes to trying to fish to win. And he's so positive. I'm trying to learn from that.
Is there anything that phases him, like, at all? Because I have just getting to know him. Mark has known him through the U.S. Open for the years, but I legitimately think that his success is because nothing phases him, whether he catches 25 pounds or 1 pound.
Yeah, you can't tell the difference. I mean, after you get off the water, it literally doesn't matter if he's in first or 100. He's exactly the same. And I have trouble handling that when it's me. I have a hard time being on the same keel if I'm in 100th place as I would be if I was doing really well. But it works for him, and I'm trying to learn from it because it's a pretty cool way to be.
All right, man. A number of questions on the instant feedback. Let's get to it. First of all, Mark in Minnesota wants to know, what is your opinion on limiting practice, and would you like to see just 1 day of practice or no days of practice for an elite event?
It'd be interesting. Now that we have the no information rule, I think, we've kind of, at least for safety's sake, I think we've got to be able to get out there for a couple days and learn our way around. It would be really interesting just to drop the boats in the water and see what happens. Like we were talking about Travis, for example. Everyone found it instantly at Travis. That first day at Travis, everyone caught big old bags of fish. But, man, that's a small lake that's easy to get around. You go somewhere like the Mississippi River or somewhere like that, or the Sabine, and just say, for example, we had never been there. I think it's only fair to have at least a couple days to figure out how to safely get around and find some fish. But it would be interesting to see, and I'll tell you, 2.5 days goes quick on a big body of water. We've got a 2.5 day practice right now, and you've got to have a really good game plan leading into that. You can't just launch your boat and wing it, because they're big bodies of water, and you're usually going to be in for trouble unless you go into that practice with a game plan and have it narrowed down onto some areas that you're going to fish like that. But I don't know. We'll see. I do like kind of where things are at right now. And for me this year, I pre-practiced Martin, but that's probably going to be it for me this year. Probably won't get any pre-practice in, and it's just kind of fun going into a tournament fresh like that. But I don't know. 0 or 1 days would be tough on these giant bodies of water for sure.
Okay, Jeff in Tennessee, in kind of keeping with that thing, he wants to know what your thoughts are about the elite guys being allowed to go practice at the Sabine River, and did you practice at all?
Yeah, that's a good question. It was a unique deal because this is kind of the only tournament we've had that pop up, and they're a week or two before the tournament, but it's a lot less than the normal 30-day off limits or 28-day off limits. I don't know. I probably would have taken advantage of it, but with the way our schedule is backloaded like this, I literally only had like 10 days to come home. And outside of these 10 days, I mean, I've got tournaments like 7 of 8 weeks or something like that. So I wanted to come home and see my family. But if I would have gone otherwise, you may as well. We fished an open on the Sabine almost the exact same week last year, and only a handful of guys from the elites fished it, and I was one of them. So I feel like at least I got to see it in the summertime. But can you guys still see me?
Yeah, we got you.
Yeah. At least I got to see it at that time of year, but I wish I could have gone.
All right, TJ in North Carolina wants to know, are there any type of species out on the West Coast on some of the desert lakes? A lot of discussion about the Asian carp. Is there anything like that out west that you guys are battling?
Any invasives?
Yeah.
Yeah, the mussels are the main thing for us, and they really don't affect a bass fisherman too badly. I mean, they clear the water up, they cut your line, but the mussels are pretty much the thing that we're fighting all the time, and we've got them in a lot of our lakes, and it becomes an inconvenience because one day you're on a lake that's got them, the next day you're not, and a lot of these lakes have these crazy processes where you have to clean your boat and stuff like that. So they are a hassle for us. And then as far as an actual fish goes, not really. We're watching gizzard shad well, I guess the stripers. Let me take it a step back. We've seen stripers come in and change the dynamics of some of our fisheries before, like Lake Pleasant and a lot of the other lakes in the Southwest. And they're such a crazy predator fish, and there's so many of them. They're so plentiful that they change the way a lake fishes, but nothing like the carp. Thankfully, hopefully it stays that way. I hope we don't have carp in all of our lakes in 100 years. I sure hope
if
not.
they figure out a way to get from the Mississippi River to Lake Pleasant in Arizona, I mean, you just at some point you got to just tip your cap and say, "You sir are a magical fish."
I hear you. We're going to have to start targeting those guys for sure.
Wow. All right, Josh in Missouri, a 3-part question. He wants to know, how big of a shock is it for a West Coast guy to go east? And then he wants to know what your weaknesses are and what was the biggest thing that you had to improve on really the evolution of your development on the Elite Series.
Yeah, those are good questions because, when I started fishing back east, I was like 20. And I literally thought I knew everything because I was 20. And, you think that you're an expert at any technique. And because I felt like I had that stuff down, and I really didn't, and it took a few years for me to learn that, hey, you've got some serious holes in your game. You need to work on it. And, we have grass out here, but grass fishing was a big thing that I had to kind of learn, just because there are so many different types of grass. It takes such patience to be a good grass fisherman. Another thing would be dock fishing. We've got some marinas and stuff, and some of our lakes out west have some docks, but not like back east. And that's still my biggest weakness, is fishing docks, because again, it takes such patience. And I really, my favorite thing is fishing for groups of fish and schools of fish, whether they're shallow or deep. And when you're fishing docks, you're patiently trying to take one at a time. And for me, that's a challenge, is slowing down long enough to do that. And then I guess the third type of fishing that I'm still working on, and I've been slowly improving, but tidal fishing. Again, we've got the Delta out here, but I still live 15 hours from the Delta, so it's not like it's in my backyard. And tidal fishing has been a challenge for me too. And the last couple tidal tournaments I did, I've had decent tournaments, but I mean, gosh, that if you look back at my track record, some of these seasons, we'll have literally like five tournaments on lakes, and I'll make the cut in all of them, and 3 tournaments on tidal, and I'll finish like 80th or below in all of those. So that's by far my biggest weakness, and I'm trying to learn that. And again, a lot of it I think goes back to patience, finding some fish and being patient with them. And that's what I'm working on big time. And we've got 2 of the next few tournaments we've got are going to be on tidal fisheries with grass, so they'll be a big test for me.
When the Sabine River kicks off, we'll be halfway through the year, and guys like me and Jeffries like to start looking at the points. Hell, we're looking at the points after Lake Martin, but there is no denying the fact that you are in the midst of the Angler of the Year hunt. Do you look at that? Do you scroll down and say, I'm X number of points behind Brent Chapman? You can't help but think about it. I mean, you got a legit shot at this thing, Josh.
Well, I mean, honestly, it's so early in the year. I mean, it's amazing how many points are available in 5 or 6 tournaments. So, I mean, it is really cool. And, hey, the more points you get now, the less you need later, no matter what you're trying to do. But, and I'd love to be in the hunt, but I do realize that, man, it only takes 1 or 2 bad tournaments and you're long gone. So hopefully I can, just manage to have one solid tournament at a time. And like I said, the Sabine will be a big test. I'll feel much better if I can get through that tournament. But we'll see. I mean, hey, it's so tight. And this early in the year, there's still, 20, 30, 40 guys that honestly have a chance at Angler of the Year, because all it takes is one bomb, and you've got to get top 10s the rest of the year to even have a chance at that. So it's hard to do, but yeah, the more points I get now, the less I need later. That's how I'm looking at it.
All right, back to the instant feedback. David in Wisconsin wants to know, besides out west, what region of the country do you really like to fish?
For me, by far, it's up north. I love fishing for smallies, fishing the rocks, fishing the clear water. That's a lot of fun. upstate New York, all the Great Lakes, Mille Lacs, all those are by far my favorite. There's just nothing like catching 4, 5, and 6 pound smallies. It's the best. But it's all about getting excited about no matter what you're doing. Even if it is going out of the Sabine and fishing cypress trees and grass, trying to catch a 10-pound limit, you can get excited about that because it's a level playing field, and if you can catch 10 pounds, you're going to be right there. And it's really awesome going up and catching 5-pound smallies, on 6-pound line. But it's cool catching 2-pounders too if there's money attached to them.
You did a sucky job of selling that.
Dude, I'm serious, man. Hey, I'm dead serious. Hey, I grew up on some of these lakes. 10 pounds is good, out here. And we've got some good ones too. But I grew up being excited about 10 pounds.
All right, Jeff in Tennessee, are you planning on fishing the U.S. Open this year?
I am, yeah. I'm stoked about it. It's going to be another really good tournament. We had it in October last year, and man, you should anyone back east, including Matt in the studio there. I want to see Matt come fish it within the next couple of years. But it's a really fun tournament to fish in. In October, it's actually really good fishing. The quality of the fish isn't crazy big, but you can catch them on top water all day, and I'm stoked to fish it. I look forward to that as much as anything. 10 pounds. I'm looking forward to it, yeah.
Toss-up between whether he's more excited about the Sabine in the middle of June or the U.S. Open in October, Mark.
I don't think
both equally as exciting.
U.S. Open.
Jeez. All right, Mark in Minnesota wants to know, what remaining events are you looking forward to, and what events are you just kind of like, oh, man, I am not fired up about this one?
Well, for me, Oahe and St. Lawrence River are going to be like the two most exciting fish catching tournaments. We're going to catch some big smallmouth, and I love that. So those I'm stoked for. And then Mississippi River is always fun. Like I said, talking about tidal, the two that I'm trying to be positive about and hopefully have good tournaments and get through. But obviously, bigger question marks for me are the Sabine and the Chesapeake. But we'll see. You never know which ones you're going to do well in. Every year, I always look at the calendar and say, oh, that one will be cool, that one will be cool. And sometimes they're like my worst tournaments. And then the big question marks end up being the best ones. So you never know. But those two title tournaments are my question marks right now.
All right. Riley in Oklahoma, I don't know if you can talk about this. What can you say about the new Mercury V8? Can you talk about anything? Do you know anything about it? Is there anything?
Yeah, I'm not like a real gearhead. We actually were able to get a pretty good look at that thing last week over at Lake Travis, and it looks awesome. I can't wait to get it. There are a bunch of really cool features. It's going to have everything you'd expect out of a Mercury as far as top end and reliability and stuff like that. But it's also it's a 4-stroke, so it'll be sweet to not be lugging around oil. And it's also going to be super improved on like your low and mid range acceleration and stuff like that. So I can't wait to get one. It's going to be a really cool motor, and it looks pretty mean too. It looks awesome, and boats are already shipping with them.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of these dealers are already getting them, so I definitely won't be one of the first ones to get one, but I'm stoked for next year. That's for sure.
All right, man. Matthew, anything else?
Nope.
That's good stuff. Good stuff. I think it's the first time he's been on the show, isn't it?
Either first or second. We haven't had him on in a long time.
Hey, is there anything you want to show us? Is there anything you want to show us?
We've got since we were talking about some of the tournaments earlier this year, I've got a couple bags of baits and stuff. And the number one thing for me so far has just, anytime we're fishing in the spring, my favorite bait to flip is a Berkeley Pit Boss. And, it literally carries me through the springtime tournaments. Soon it's going to be available in Power Bait. It already is. If you buy it in Bass Pro Shops, it's available in Power Bait. So everyone loves the Pit Boss in Havoc. It's the same shape, but it's going to be available with the Power Bait scent and formula. So it makes it even better. It makes those fish hold on to it a little bit longer. But literally, anytime we're fishing in the spring at Grand, I didn't use it at Travis, but at Grand and Kentucky Lake, that's the bait I flipped, and I'll be flipping it again at the Sabine, at the Chesapeake, and gosh, it's literally the only flipping bait you need. That's it. But my boat is in Texas right now, so I don't have anything else cool here. Pretty much everything I own is in my truck and boat in Texas right now. I'm lonely without it for sure.
All right, man. Hey, good
Awesome.
stuff. Good stuff, Matthew. Anything else?
No, thanks for taking the time, and then we get wound up, and then it's pretty much a month straight, and then it'll be 7 events done within a month.
It's coming quick, and it's going quick. But yeah, thank you all for the questions, and thank you guys for having me on. It was awesome.
All right, man. Good luck to you. Hey, can't wait to see you at the U.S. Open, too. Fun stuff.
Looking forward to it, guys. Thanks.
All right, man. Take care.
Bye.
All right, there you have it. Josh Bertrand, good dude, man.
Mm-hmm.
You can catch him, too.
Yeah, he's proven to be able to expand his versatility as every year that he's on tour. You can see him growing as an angler, as you can with James Elam.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, a couple questions on the instant feedback. Sorry I didn't get to him. Wanted to know his thoughts on the selling of Pure Fishing and the brands. And, I mean, I don't know how much he could talk about that. And then Frank in Michigan said, who would you like to challenge in one-on-one live? So that would have been a good one, too.
Yeah.
I'd like to see an Arizona battle. That would be pretty cool. On one of the Arizona lakes out there, to do it out there. Anyway, so holiday weekend coming up. I've got a couple of things that I want to announce. All right. Obviously, the first thing, next Wednesday, our next one-on-one live.
10 a.m. Central.
10 a.m. Central Time right here on BassZone.com.
Jeff Crete, Mike McClellan.
Going at it on a small body of water.
In Oklahoma.
In the state of Oklahoma.
It's got grass. It's got wood. It's got rock. It's got docks. It's got everything you could ask for it to be you're going to learn a lot, and they're going to catch a lot.
Yeah.
And they'll probably be fishing within proximity of each other. It's one of those deals where when one starts going down, the other one's going to know what's going to happen, and they're going to be right there. Trust me, because off the record, and I went down and filmed all the promos and stuff, neither of these guys want to lose. Like, McClellan does not want Crete to beat him, and Crete really does not want McClellan to beat him.
No doubt. So it should be very, very entertaining next Wednesday, May 30th, 10 a.m. right here. All right, the second thing is I am in the giving spirit again, Matthew. I guess all the time in the terminals and jetways and planes yesterday.
A little time for reflection.
I know. I was thinking, I was like, you know what? On on Friday's show, I'm going to give some more stuff away. Now, here's what we're going to do. For those people that are listening on iTunes, for those people that have submitted a review and a
rating, ranking.
All right. Prior to this date, I am going to randomly select one of those people that have submitted a review for Bass Talk Live on iTunes, randomly select and give away a $500 tackle pack. For their loyalty to listening to BTL and watching BTL and listening, obviously, on iTunes, I'm going to give away a $500 random tackle pack. The other thing I'm going to do is for anybody that adds a review and a rating
that has not previously done it,
I am going to randomly select a listener or a viewer that submits a review, good or bad. Either way, it doesn't matter. I'm going to give them a $500 tackle pack. All right, so do you understand how this works?
I like it because, typically if you've been a loyal customer, they're always trying to give you the deals to sign up and be new and give you the discount.
No, I'm taking care of the people that has been with us, Matthew.
I got you.
All
and
right.
taking care of the new reviewers.
Yeah. So anybody that's done a review previous to this day,
on the iTunes, just go down and click on number 1 through 5 stars and your thoughts for the moment.
That's it. And then all the people that have been loyal to us over the years and have submitted reviews, $500 to a random person.
How many years are we on this now? 9?
Think so.
Oh, guess who I saw Wednesday night?
Who'd you see?
Drew the Truth Smith.
He fished the Wednesday nighter?
Drew the Truth was fishing the Wednesday nighter.
Really?
Yeah.
How'd he do?
No keepers. He came back. We talked him off the water. He's like, dude, because I used to fish with him.
Yeah.
He used to be part. All that wood? I was like, yeah, dude, that was like 8 years ago. That stuff's rotted and gone.
That's like that big grass area on Arbuckle that I fish every time I go to.
Hasn't been there since 95.
It's 12 years ago. Where's the plaque at? Right up there for the 7 pound.
No, but he wants to come back in and do a little guest hosting.
All right, cool. We'll get that done.
Guess how old Creed's kid is?
14.
15.
I was close. Stud athlete. He is a stud.
Cool.
All right. I know he loves to hunt and fish too. All right. So just in summary on the iTunes stuff, once again, anybody that submitted a rating and a review, I'm going to randomly select $500 in a tackle pack. And then anybody that has not submitted a rating and a review, you're going to get a $500 tackle pack also. So there you have it. I'm in the giving mood. The other thing is, please, we are trying to get our subscription base up on YouTube. So if you could, I'm asking you to go in and make sure you subscribe, because there's a lot of people out there that just watch and they don't subscribe. But if you could go in and subscribe to our YouTube account, it would greatly help us get to the point that we need to be at for some of the stuff that we want to do in the future. So very excited. And then the last bit of kind of housework is I will have what challenges that I've received posted on bz1on1live.com as soon as I make contact with the people and get everything confirmed. So,
show next Tuesday or not?
Yes. Why not?
Oh, because we got the one-on-one live Wednesday.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Maybe we could get one of them on to kind of
preview it.
Yeah.
Yeah. There we go. Why don't you have both of them on?
Let's do that. All right. So we're gonna try and get Crete and McClellan on Tuesday to kind of queue up the battle that's going to ensue on Wednesday. All right, man. You're not venturing out this week.
I'm headed up to Tulsa after this.
Dripping Springs, maybe? That's not too far from Tulsa.
About an hour.
Not too far. Nobody ever goes there on a holiday weekend.
Watch horses run around a barrel tonight.
Where?
Somewhere in Kansas.
You don't know where?
I'd never heard of the place.
Can't remember the town?
I want to say like Waxahachie or
That's Texas.
Poxahachie.
Oh my gosh, dude.
I don't know. It's somewhere in Kansas.
All right. Well, good luck with that, everybody. Be safe on this holiday weekend.
Matt Ellis as well.
Yeah.
Coming on from the Outdoor Scoreboard, talking about the carp issue on Kentucky Lake.
And then a big week next week. And what is that?
Is that not the most West Coast Skype name ever? Drop Shot. That's Josh Bertrand.
No, you're definitely right. All right, everybody be safe. Have a good holiday. We will be back on Tuesday. Everybody, stay tuned.